Welcome to the Bry and Samua Show. I'm Bry.
And I'm Samua.
Welcome, everybody. We're so glad you're here. If you would take just a minute for us in the beginning to like and subscribe to our show, we would really appreciate it. We're glad you're here. We hope that you've enjoyed content up to this point, and we'd just like to say hello.
So we've had some technical difficulties lately, so they have not been out every 2 weeks, but we are getting back on track. Both technical difficulties in life and actual technology. But yeah, check out some of our older episodes, share them with friends. If you could just take a second and forward and text a specific episode that really spoke to you to a friend, that'd be awesome. Post it to your stories for us. Just help us grow this community where we can connect with each other and carry each other through the different ups and downs of life.
I love it. I love it.
Speaking of which, so what's been going on with you?
Well, I found this new hair growth product.
Is it Chia Pets?
It went crazy. Well, it's kind of like it.
I remember Chia Pets from Walgreens commercials.
They still have them.
Specifically. Oh, wow, that's insane.
They have them in a lot of different things now. So yeah, they still have them, which is great. They have a flow.
Oh, really?
Yes, they have.
I specifically remember the little armadillo looking one.
Yeah.
And I just, when I was 8, I used to want one of those so bad.
So for my progressive friends, you could have a Flow Chia Pet.
That's
They
awesome.
do sell them at the Prague shop, just so you know, just giving a little plug there.
I'm loving the Miracle Grow hair though.
You know, I needed something different. The hats were just not cutting it anymore. And I
Yeah.
thought, you know what, I needed something kind of fun. And so why not take advantage of having some fun with this? And what's nice is with the Cleveland Clinic, for all their patients that are going through cancer, they let you go down to this boutique and this woman takes you through all different types of looks and you get to pick one out and it's all free.
That's so awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Now, how does it feel? Because I just wore a wig for 10 miles with blue hair for joy.
It was so cute.
From Inside Out. And oh my gosh, like I could not, probably that was the worst thing of the whole race that I kept thinking, I can't wait to finish to take this thing off my head. Because I could just feel the pressure of it like all around my, and I have a lot of hair to begin with, so that, I don't know if that kind of added to it.
Probably.
But I just felt like I could like, feel the pressure of it all around. And then I definitely did end up getting a headache from it.
Yeah.
But you know, playing my part, I stayed in costume all the way through our traditional breakfast.
Look at your
shirt. I
shirt.
got my challenge shirt. And then breakfast got delayed and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to take this wig off.
Yeah.
So how does it feel? Are you used to it?
They have something that you should put underneath it.
Okay.
And I hate it because that's what that does to me. It's something that's supposed to keep it in place and blah, blah, blah. And I don't like it. So I just put it on without it and it's fine.
Okay.
It's got a little bit of a reinforcement underneath it, but
Nice.
I don't like the other because it comes down halfway down your forehead. And I'm like,
Oh, but then you can see it.
that's ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. So I just tossed that aside and said, I'm not doing it.
I feel like the highlights and color is like exactly what your normal hair looks like.
Exactly. So that made me excited. I ordered a couple of ball caps with some fake hair coming out of it.
So you escaped the Cleveland Clinic prison
I did.
early.
I did.
But how is it now having been home for almost a month?
Yeah, it's been really good.
Because you can't really go out in public.
Yeah, no public yet. They say after you have a bone marrow transplant, you need to give it 100 days. And I don't even know what day I'm on, but I know I'm over 50. I'm over halfway there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like last week I was almost halfway. So I'm over halfway. And they want you just to kind of lay low for a little bit, let your body do the healing, do all of its stuff. And so I'll be able to get sprung maybe mid-June.
Okay.
And be able to do more. I still have to be careful, but other than that, I'll be able to start resuming a little bit more of my life.
So these nice sunny days we've had in Ohio, have you been enjoying that beautiful deck of yours?
I've been actually going out to the park and walking.
Nice.
So getting outside, getting some exercise, trying to get all that going again. Because, you know, right before this happened, I was up to almost 17 miles to get ready for the marathon.
That's amazing.
And then all of a sudden it was like, and I did nothing for 5 months.
Yeah.
And it was like, except in the hospital trying to walk the halls and stuff. But I mean, you know how much.
But you're really just going there to see naked Ken in the room.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. He shirtless.
Shirtless Ken.
Yeah.
He had on pants. Okay, that's good. He's semi-appropriate at least.
Well, actually, Brad corrected me. Being a girl, I didn't realize it was actually G.I. Joe.
Oh. Oh.
It wasn't a Ken doll. It was a G.I. Joe doll.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because he had fatigues on. I should have known.
Oh.
But I didn't. So the shirt I bought a shirt that I was going to put on this, and it didn't fit because G.I. Joe is bigger than Ken.
Has bigger muscles than Ken. Oh man, I wonder what Ryan Gosling thinks about that.
Exactly. Exactly. So there you go. So no, but it's been good. It's been really good.
Good.
So talk about your race because I did have to miss another one.
I
So
know. And oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many times you came to mind. We haven't done, I guess, like a true girls trip in some time. And this was just
yeah,
such a great group of ladies.
it was.
And it was an interesting dynamic because there was two of them that were really good friends. And then I obviously had a connection. I'm good friends with each one of them. One of them was my sister. But the others didn't really know each other that well. Like they knew of each other or like casually here. And, my sister and Baker, for example, like casually throughout parties, but
Right.
they don't like hang out, and it was such a fun dynamic. It was one of those it was one of those trips where like literally we were all like, oh man, like we're getting abs out of this because we just would laugh,
So
like belly laugh the
good.
whole time. And but it would be stories that if I was to tell you them right now, you'd be like, that's not funny. Like, why
Well,
is
but it's
that
all in the
funny?
moment.
Right, exactly. And a couple of sayings that came out of it. One of them was definitely where's Baker?
Yeah.
Because literally we would walk like 20 feet and we're all together. And then we look around like, wait, where's Baker? Where did she go?
She did that when we traveled with her.
Yes. Yes, she did.
She would like she sees something pretty and
Yes,
she'd go see it.
exactly. And we kept joking because she even said, well, they're shiny things.
She
And
would
that
just
became the
there, and then you
thing.
were like, so you just have to stand and wait because she would eventually come back to you.
Yep, yep. So,
She
but
was a boomerang.
Disney, there's not a lot of waiting.
Right, right, right.
We're trying to book it, especially because the one day we did two parks in one day, which I haven't done that in a long time. So we
Yeah.
did because Mariana had never been to Disney.
Okay.
So we were trying to, give her as much of Disney as we could. So the first day we did Epcot and Hollywood Studios.
Perfect.
And so there's no lollygagging. We can't sit here and wait, Baker.
Right, right,
So then it
right.
was, that's it. I'm just holding your hand the rest of the day.
Just loop your arm in her arm and say, you're
Yeah.
just gonna come
And
with
it was
me.
pretty much like the whole trip for her.
Oh my gosh. That
But
was
just
yeah.
lots of fun times. We were so like kitty obnoxious, but not like an annoying. At least we didn't think of it. For example, we were going on Space Mountain, and there's five of us, and it's three people to a rocket. So there was one lady that got stuck with one of our groups. And, right before the right's about to go off, like we're like moving up just for the second employee to like check our
Right.
seatbelts. And all of a sudden I'm like, yes, like this is the best ride ever. Like just being like silly and goofy.
Yeah.
And then that had everybody else doing it. And we're all like, yeah. And then the lady behind me just starts to chuckle. She's probably about our age, maybe slightly older than us. Yeah, like so like it was kind of that kind of stuff.
Right,
So a
right.
lot of stories like that, and it was a really good time. And for a lot of the ladies, it was the first time they did a Disney race or a long race because they all did
Right.
the 10 miler. A couple of them I think had done 5Ks, but not like like that. So it was really cool to just see everybody dig deep and
Get it done.
remember how like strong they are. And we had so much fun. We got tons of character pictures,
Good.
the whole shebang. So it was a good time.
Oh, that's
It was
awesome.
much needed. Everybody kept saying that, oh man, I really needed this. I really needed this.
Oh, that's so
So we
good.
all came back exhausted.
Good. But a
Um,
good exhaustion.
it is, but it's also hard, when especially like me, Baker, and my sister who all have kids.
Right, right.
So it's like crash and burn back home, and nobody understands. Well, you were just gone for 5 days.
But they don't know that you were running.
Yeah, everybody, around you just kind of expects like, no, you should be relaxed. You just had a vacation.
Oh my
It's like,
gosh.
no, we didn't,
Yeah. It's not a vacation
Right.
at all.
No,
I mean, it is,
but
but
it
it's
was a
not.
lot of fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
So,
That's awesome.
so today it's April. It's the very end of April.
Yep.
We're gonna sneak in this episode at the end of April for Autism Awareness Month. And obviously having Naomi, it's
Yep.
something that is very near and dear to my heart, and that I have a lot of thoughts and opinions about. Probably not all that I can fit into one episode, but
Before you get too far, for those of that may not have watched previous episodes, who's Naomi?
So Naomi is one of my five biological children, and she's now 19, right? 19. I had to check with you because there's too many
Wait,
of
didn't
them.
she just turn 18 in December?
No. Well, just turned 18 in
Okay,
February.
so she's 19.
She's 19, and she was diagnosed with she regressed and diagnosed with autism when she was 3.5. And I started to notice the changes right around 18 months or so, the end of the summer before she turned 2. Her birthday's in December. So I would say probably that August, early September. And then by the time her second birthday came around, I'm like, no, like this is a different kid than what I had a year ago. Because of course, nobody was really listening to me at the time. I was pregnant with Eli, and my pediatrician, my ex-husband, everybody's kind of like, "Oh no, it's normal." And I'm like, "No, she's losing skills, she's losing behavior or
Right.
speech. She has these behaviors that she didn't have before." They're like, "Oh, it's just because it's terrible twos." And I'm like, I had a 2-year-old already. Isaac
Right.
was 3.5, 4 at the time. No, that's not what it is. And inevitably, she ended up getting diagnosed with autism. So that's Naomi.
Well, and back then, I remember when you told me about her diagnosis, I had to look it up.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point in time, it was new and it wasn't something that was so much like it is today. It was, and there weren't the services that you've got today. There
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
the
no.
insurance coverages that you had today. And so back then it was pretty scary because it was something we didn't have a lot of information about. And because it was behavioral, it made it even harder, you
It
know?
did. And I think, well, one, I'm, not to sound cliche, but it's been a challenge. But one of the good things is, our whole friendship is
Right.
probably blossomed from that. Initially, because being part of our small group as we were going through that, you just took charge in, showing us care and partnering with us in such tangible ways at the time, and organizing so much, from support and babysitting and fixing the house to sell and things like that. So we became closer through those conversations. And then Keith Urban, of
Yeah,
course, we can't, not give credit where credit is due.
that's right.
But then that was right after that whole summer. It was the end of
Yeah.
that summer, and you just like, here, let's get out of town and have this fun time. And then on the way back is when you started talking about Run Disney, and let's do
Yeah.
something productive with this and put the energy towards something. And then we started the whole race journey, which we kind of thought was going to be a one-time deal. I definitely remember. And
Well,
here we are 16, 15 years later,
and how
still
funny that
doing Run Disney.
my first race was with a charity called Leukemia and Lymphoma.
I know, right?
Isn't that weird
Hmm.
that all these years later, that's come back full
Full
circle, you know?
circle.
And that's why I wanted to say, we raise money for leukemia and lymphoma. I wonder if there's something out there for autism. And we did. We found a
Right.
group, and I'm like, well, let's do it. And we thought, let's do this race. I think we did with the half.
The half, yeah.
We did a half marathon. And I just remember we started in the back because neither one of us had times or anything. And we were right next to the balloon ladies. They were probably right behind us. And all I remember is I just see a ponytail running away from me. It was great, though. It was the perfect race for us to start. But then once we were done, we were kind of kicking ourselves. We should have done more that weekend because it had a whole weekend of stuff. We
Right.
just did the one. So we're like, all right, next year we're doing the marathon.
And then we kept saying, okay, we're going to do this one more just to get the coast to coast. Oh, wait, no, we're going to do this one more
Oh
just to
my
get the
gosh.
pink coast to coast. And
That's
wait,
right.
but this is an inaugural race. So
So
now
we
we
have
got
to
to
do
do that
that.
one.
It
15 years
snowballed.
later, here we
And then
are.
we were like, we have to do the Everest challenge, which we
And then
kept talking about.
they did a
And then we were
babysit.
ready to do it. And then they stopped it.
Yeah.
So I wish they'd bring that back.
I know, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one of the things that really saddens me through the years of Naomi being diagnosed is, I'm always very open to people. I'm a very caring person and just kind of
Mhm.
hands-on, like I'm going to tangibly jump in and do things. So having that reputation of people around me that have experienced that, they will direct, whenever anybody hears a friend that has a child with autism or something, they direct people to me. They're like, hey, my friend is
Yeah.
this. Can I send them, can I give them your number? Can I send them this?
Send it your
Whatever.
way.
And 15 years later, it really saddens me how little information and preparation these parents are still getting. They're still just kind of being told, hey, your child has autism and look into, ABA therapy, maybe some speech, and best of luck.
Wow.
Um, there's not a lot of information within, and I get it that some of this is state by state, but you would think knowing a lot of this, because as you mentioned, when Naomi was first diagnosed, insurance wouldn't even touch it because they said it was an educational problem because of being cognitive. And now insurance has come a long way with that because they used to not even cover mental health therapies, but now they do and things like that. But even still, there's still so many loopholes that
Yeah.
they create because it is so expensive, for one child to get good quality ABA therapy intervention that's going to be effective and hopefully give them the best scenarios and percentages of outcome. You're looking at probably 75K a year, if
Right.
not more, of just therapy for that child. So of course, if you have an insurance policy and your deductible, even if your deductible is $5,000,
Right.
that's $70,000 out of that insurance company's pocket. So they created so many loopholes. And I know from firsthand experience, it became a part-time job for me to get her stuff covered through insurance.
Boy, it sure did.
Even all the fights initially, once things were in place, it was fine. It actually started to get even harder to get things, like once the initial fight was hard, but then I got into a good groove for a couple years. And then as insurance actually started to cover it, it actually began to make it more difficult.
Oh, geez.
Because now, when I was fighting for it, there was not really any kind of protocol or examples. And so they just covered what like what I was fighting for, and they accepted things. But then as they started to create parameters and protocols, they started to create more loopholes and hoops to jump through. And I actually had more issues with coverage than when insurance didn't cover it, because everything was out of network or a special situation. So there wasn't as many, like just detail, like restrictions or specifications around it. And I would just have to every 6 months, submit like a progress report and justify why she still needed it, blah, blah, blah. And then whatever was charged in those 6 month window, they would cover. And then once it was approved and we're sending in literally hundreds of pages of therapy notes and things like that, then they started to be nitpicky, and it was just a headache. So, but I think practically for a lot of parents, it saddens me that they're not getting a lot of directives still.
Right. They
From
don't
the
understand
doctor's
some of the more
office.
holistic things that you've learned.
That's even a whole other subject. I'm even just talking about, these parents aren't being told, like, contact like this aspect of the county or this aspect of the school, and make sure you're asking about this, make sure you're pointing this out. Especially if your child is, preschool age or school age and things like that. They're not just being told about the resources that the government provides, or the state provides, based on, several different things. But yeah, the whole holistic side of things too is a whole other situation.
In the beginning, I remember the only doctor that you could really deal with was in Florida. So you had to go to Florida multiple times to get Naomi treated, because there really wasn't a lot happening in Ohio just yet. And he was one of the better ones that you knew would give you good direction and help you get started.
Yeah, right now they would probably be falling under the category of functional health doctors, which in general are just a better type of health practitioner for anybody. Unfortunately, insurance doesn't really cover a lot of those.
Right.
And one of the trends that we've been seeing lately, it feels like whenever something is effective that is not pharmaceutical, all of a sudden, even when things are like, this has happened a couple times with a couple specific items that my husband was utilizing for himself personally, or he has another practitioner that he treats, a couple of functional health practitioners, and they were able to access a particular product that is not a pharmaceutical, it's a naturally occurring compound, and it was being effective. So then once a couple years in, and as more research is backing up how effective it is, and then more practitioners are utilizing it because there's more word of mouth about it being effective, then all of a sudden the government steps in and makes it inaccessible.
Oh no.
Which is such a shady, weird situation. But yeah, back then they were called biomedical doctors, and they got a lot of bad rep in the media. And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, those guys are witch doctors and like snake healers. Like, I'm not gonna look into that for my kid. But I read a bunch of books right off the bat when she was diagnosed, and I one of them kept talking about, find a conference, just go to a conference. And I kind of was looking. There was this organization called Defeat Autism Now, and they were a big component of the no bad organization. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to go to one of those. And then I came across National Autism Association, seemed, simple enough. And it was a couple moms of autistic children that started it from Rhode Island. So being from Boston, this seemed, and it was in Florida area in like chilly weather time already. I'm like, oh, this is a great and it was gonna be my first time actually traveling by myself too. I'm like, oh, all these great excuses. This is the one I'm gonna go with. And it did end up being a very medicine, technical heavy. It's used as CEUs for doctors. So, which I had not realized that. But having a pre-med background, I was just sitting there and I'm like, wait, I get what they're saying. They had, they had research, they had data, they had information. it all made sense. It all made sense to me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I definitely want to try these things. And a lot of
Good.
it was simple things that had no real side effects either.
Yeah.
So it's why wouldn't,
Give it
changing
a
her
shot.
diet, yeah, like
Yeah.
changing her diet, cleaning up her environment. That was the majority of it. They did also, this was 15 years ago, and look where we are today. They did glutathione IVs. Now there's an IV center every mile of every street corner now. There's all
Right.
these vitamin IV therapies. But 15 years ago, these
Did not
doctors were getting,
exist.
and not only did it exist, but they were getting like such bad reps because they were recommending these things.
Right.
And it's just so sad because for the autism moms that were willing to go on a limb like that, it's effective. It's worked. Naomi was the second oldest of 4 children, and I was in a very difficult relational marriage. So I wasn't able to maybe lean into things as much as I did because I was on my
Right.
own and I was already carrying a lot. But there are people who were able to reverse their child's autism. They
Wow.
eventually lost their diagnosis. They kind of fell around Asperger's or ADHD still kind of things, but they were
Right.
able to lose all of their accommodations in school. And officially, when they redid their testing, they didn't have the criteria anymore
Oh my
to
gosh,
qualify
that
for
would be
autism.
amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing for families to have that. So it's come a long way.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons of now versus back when you started.
Yeah, I think the saddest thing for me now is just how little people are given up front,
Yeah.
and that parents still have to be willing to really like roll up their sleeves and really dig deep to have access to the things that I had access to. So
And
it
fight
makes me
for it.
sad that that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
That there isn't again, even if it is state by state, but that and the amount of, the numbers, when Naomi was diagnosed, it was 1 in
Oh
110.
my gosh. And now
And now it's like in 35 the last time that
that's
I
insanity to
heard of a
me.
number. And so as much as it's been increasing, it's just sad to me that when you get a child that gets diagnosed, that these parents aren't being told, listen, to get ABA, you want to reach out to, for example, I didn't even know this until a couple of years in. Like, every county has a board of developmental disabilities. Reach out to them, reach out to either the county board of ed if it's a preschool age child, or reach out to your school board of education,
Yeah.
to get these assessments done through them so then you can have access to this and this. Like, it's just parents just aren't given any of that. It's just, here's your diagnosis, your child has autism.
And that's what you
ABA,
had.
yeah, ABA therapy is good. Here's a list of books, figure it out. It just makes me sad that they don't have more of a
Right.
a protocol and a step-by-step guide for these parents when it's already really overwhelming.
You wish that they could put in place like a mentor system where,
Yes.
okay, your child is just diagnosed with autism. We have a list of parents that are willing to talk to
Yeah,
you about what
that's a
they've
good
been
idea.
through. And we're going to go ahead and assign someone to you, and that person will be your person that will answer your
Yeah.
questions. If they don't know, then we'll reach out to somebody else who's on our team. But
And the other sad thing is a lot of things are still based on you have to know they're there to
yeah,
get access to it
right.
versus somebody just coming to you and saying, here.
Here's a book with everything in it that
Yeah.
you need.
And so, even dealing with the county and, a social worker, they're called SSAs. They're basically a social worker. Naomi has one through SummitED. Now, being Brazilian, there's a thing called a jeitinho Brasil. So, and it's not about bulldozing our way through things. It's just about finagling
Yeah.
to get what we want to get things done. And oftentimes that could be sweet talking and, a little bit of flair and whatever. And sometimes it is like, boom, you're going to do this. And so I definitely have always had that mentality. And so for Naomi, I would just keep digging and digging and digging.
Yeah.
But a lot of parents don't think that way. People just don't operate that way. Whatever, they might be overwhelmed in other ways.